Hi everyone, I'm Chris Hurt. Thank you very much for joining us. Today we are going to reveal a recent AI breakthrough that will drastically change every aspect of our society. A breakthrough that's literally going to impact the share price of every single stock in the market and change the course of humanity as we know it. According to my guest today, AI investing expert Lungo, the company behind this breakthrough is going to make an announcement any day now. And that announcement will set in motion a chain of events ultimately leading to what he calls the AI endgame. It's the final phase of the AI revolution that could send several unknown stocks soaring to new heights, while also simultaneously erasing thousands of stocks from the markets. Now, here's the good news. If you follow a specific set of steps that we're going to outline today, you could end up sitting on multiple six figures or even seven figures in new wealth before this decade is out. Now, the last time this exact same scenario played out, you could have made gains like 3,060% from mobile processing company Square, 4,943% from Skyworks Solutions, or even an incredible 6,641% from Broadcom. Well, again, it is about to happen all over again, and I've convinced Luke to lay out the exact steps you need to follow as this breakthrough hits the mainstream today for free during this presentation. If you have any money in the markets, you need to know about what's going to happen. And if you're over the age of 50, Luke warns this may be the last opportunity you'll have to make extraordinary wealth in stocks. With that said, we got a lot of research to cover. Let's get to the man with the plan. Lungo, thanks very much for being here. This is a big day.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to sit down with you, Chris. I've had a lot of talks like this about AI over the past year and change, and we've even had a few of those before,
That's right.
You and me. But frankly, none of those talks have been as important as the discussion we're about to have today. That is, in my opinion, Chris, this is the big one. The big AI paradigm shift that I believe actually has the potential to change the world as we know it. I mean, everything really could be about to change. So Chris, let's get right to it.
Absolutely. I do want to make one thing clear, Luke. We have talked before, and I know when you asked me if I'd be willing to host this event, I of course jumped at the chance. We always have a good time. I enjoy spending time with you, but you have been described as one of the fastest rising stars in the investment world. I know at one point, you were even ranked the #1 financial analyst in the world out there out of more than 15,000 other analysts on Wall Street. But here's the most important thing. Your track record at finding huge stock market winners that jump 1,000% or more, truly remarkable. Just to put this in perspective, most analysts spend decades analyzing the markets and they never get close to uncovering a stock that goes up 1,000%. You've done it 14 times in just a handful of years. And as an example, a couple of them, you recommended Plug Power for a gain as high as 2,596%. You recommended Advanced Micro Devices for a gain as high as 9,334%. But what really stood out to me about your track record is how for the past couple of years, you have very accurately predicted every major event and opportunity of this AI boom that we've been seeing. As far as I can tell, there's really no other analyst in the world who understands this AI boom as well as you. I mean, it is quite unbelievable how accurate your predictions and stock recommendations have been. And it's clear you've also been covering this fascinating tech for years, and it's not like you're somebody jumping on the latest fad. You're actually on the leading edge here. Take your recommendation in NVIDIA, right, as an example. They've been all over the news lately, I know, because the microchips they make are the foundation of the AI revolution that's taking place right now. And thanks to that current boom in AI, NVIDIA's up more than 200% just over the past year alone. But again, you've been saying AI was going to be a game-changing technology for many years now. You knew NVIDIA would be a critical player in the AI build-out that was going to take place, which is why you recommended NVIDIA to a group of people back in early 2019 when I think it was trading for around 37 bucks. Just recently, you told that very same group of people to sell NVIDIA for a gain of over 1,000%. So again, in a little over 3 years here, you helped a number of people have the opportunity to make over 1,000% from one of the leaders of this trend. And NVIDIA is hardly the only AI winner you've uncovered. I mean, over the past year, there have been a number of these. It seems like you've been sending alerts every week, right? Telling people who follow you and read your work how to take profits from those AI recommendations. And they've had the chance to lock in gains from several AI stocks that have really jumped in share price. 124% from IonQ, 104% from Samsara, 97% from MongoDB, 100% in only 3 months from Meta, and I think 78% from Symbiotics. But the list goes on and on. So my point here is you have been in the trenches for years helping people prepare for this very moment. So as I said at the beginning, you're probably one of the foremost experts in the field when it comes to investing in AI. So I just wanted to make that point.
Well, Chris, it certainly is a very exciting time to be alive. And I mean, yeah, you're right. I have been tracking the development and rollout of AI since the beginning for over 5 years now. I've been helping people get positioned for some of the biggest AI gains in the market. And a big reason for this is because I've got a massive network of tech industry leaders and insiders at my disposal, especially when it comes to AI. I mean, it's not a stretch to say I either know or have worked with some of the best AI programmers and developers in the world, many of whom I actually met while attending college back at Caltech. Now, I can pick up my phone and call high-level employees and entrepreneurs that are changing our world right now, which is why I believe you should listen carefully to what I say today, because, as I said earlier, this could easily be the most important message that I will ever share. This is the big one. The single development that could change everything, because you have to understand, Chris, based on my research and from what I'm hearing from numerous contacts throughout the industry, this new AI breakthrough we're discussing right now is about to take the world by storm in the coming months.
All right, it's a very big deal, and clearly you have our attention here. So why don't we start at the very beginning of this story, Luke? What exactly, number one, is this breakthrough? Tell us about the company that's behind it, and frankly, why should the average person out there care about this?
Okay, Chris, so even though there are hundreds, if not thousands of companies developing AI and getting in on the action, and even though the biggest tech companies in the world, like Apple, Microsoft, and Tesla, are all hands on deck for the AI boom, there's one company that ignited this whole AI revolution and has since become actually synonymous for AI itself. Now, I'm talking, of course, about the pioneering company called OpenAI.
Right.
I mean, when we look back in history, we're going to point back to November 30th, 2022, as the day the AI revolution began, because that was the day that OpenAI launched ChatGPT, the buzzy AI chatbot that took the world by storm and which has since turned into really the epicenter of the whole AI boom. But it's actually OpenAI's newest breakthrough that's about to set the economy and the stock market on fire. It's a breakthrough that I think will change the world 100-fold more than ChatGPT has changed the world over the past year or so. Because in the coming weeks, Chris, I predict OpenAI will once again shock the world and make a major announcement related to this breakthrough that will usher in a new era of AI dominance, accelerate global AI progress by leaps and bounds, and solidify OpenAI as the unchallenged leader of AI technology. And even though OpenAI is not a publicly traded company, they're still a private startup, their breakthrough will definitely send dozens, if not hundreds, of stocks soaring.
All right, so let me stop you right there for just a second. Let's go back to ChatGPT, because even though it has dominated our world for the past 18 months or so, there are probably a number of people out there watching who may not fully understand exactly what it is and why it's made such an impact in such a short period of time. I think it may be important for us to understand the impact of that better, to understand what's coming. Does that make sense? Can you step us through ChatGPT and what it means?
Yeah, absolutely. So for starters, Chris, let me make something perfectly clear. The story that we're talking about right now, it's not about ChatGPT or anything that has happened already. Rather, it's about something that hasn't yet happened, but which will be much bigger than anything we have seen already. Still, I agree that it is very important to know what ChatGPT is, how it fundamentally operates, and how it did set the world ablaze with excitement.
Yeah.
So ChatGPT is essentially an AI program, right? It's a large language learning model that can generate human-like responses to very complex questions in a matter of seconds. In its simplest form, ChatGPT scours trillions of data points and countless resources to give you a specific answer to nearly any question you ask it. Now, of course, that's an extremely valuable resource. And once people figured out how much time ChatGPT could save them completing tasks, well, there was no going back.
Right.
So I wasn't surprised when ChatGPT did set records for the fastest growing user base in history. I mean, Chris, just 2 months after it launched, over 100 million people were using ChatGPT every month. 2 months. That's how long it took for this virtually unknown language processing program to go from obscurity to world changing.
Yeah.
Now, if that seems fast, that's because it is fast. Unprecedentedly fast. I mean, it took Facebook, the most popular social media application of all time, which pretty much all of us have these days, it took them 4 full years to reach that milestone. It took Netflix, the most popular video streaming service of all time, which I watch on a nightly basis, a decade to hit 100 million active users. But ChatGPT did it in 2 months. 27 times faster than Facebook and 60 times faster than Netflix. Now, Chris, that's impressive, but here's the important part. The faster your program, your app, or your software can be adopted, the more wealth it can create, which is why I'm so excited about the opportunity we have today. I mean, both Facebook and Netflix, they've been two of the best performing stocks of the past 10 years. An early investment in either stock could have made you millions of dollars, but ChatGPT is growing an order of magnitude faster than both Facebook and Netflix grew in their early days. And does that mean ChatGPT will, in time, be a better investment than both Facebook and Netflix? I say yes, because again, the faster the adoption rate of a new technology, the faster the fortunes in that technology will be made. And AI, Chris, is the fastest adopted technology in the world. Let me repeat that because it's worth repeating. The key to making a fortune from new technologies is by investing in the ones that experience the fastest adoption rates. And no technology ever is getting faster adopted than AI.
It is staggering. I agree how fast ChatGPT has caught on. What's equally impressive, though, to me is how it created this frenzy in the tech world. It happened so quickly. It was like all of these tech companies out there, they suddenly woke up one morning and realized, whoa, we're way behind on developing AI. And for others, it was probably like they didn't even realize they should have been focusing on AI for their business.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, Chris, because even though ChatGPT is this impressive program, its biggest contribution is the simple fact that it brought AI into the mainstream and proved it can drastically improve our lives. And because of this, right now, we're actually in the very early stages of an AI arms race. An arms race that, mind you, seemingly came out of nowhere, right? I mean, I've been detailing how AI will change the world to my readers for several years and helping them profit along the way, but the launch of ChatGPT was this total game changer for the industry. It was as if the world had their eyes opened to the potential of AI virtually overnight. Thousands of companies were blissfully ignorant about how AI could improve their organizations. That's not the case anymore, is it?
Right.
In the last year, businesses of every type and size have been fully embracing AI, which also helps explain why AI has become the fastest adopted business technology in history. And that's the key thing here, business adoption. It's what separates tech fads from tech paradigm shifts. I mean, you can razzle-dazzle a few thousand people into paying a few bucks a month for a fad. Easy. History is riddled with examples of this. But getting the biggest and most powerful businesses in the world to pour billions of dollars into something new? That doesn't happen with fads, Chris. That only happens with paradigm shifts. That's exactly what's happening right now with AI. For example, a recent survey found that nearly 50% of the top tech executives say AI is now their top spending priority. And AI budgets are more than double the next biggest spending category, which is cloud computing. But even that is just the beginning, because 81% of companies claim that AI is now their number one priority in their business moving forward. I mean, what we're seeing right now, Chris, is just the tip of the iceberg. But again, why should you care what these businesses are spending their money on? Well, the answer is because all of this AI investment will lead to more productivity and more profitability, which will directly translate to massive stock market returns in the coming years. Now, I'll explain this in greater detail in just a moment, but first, know this. If you do decide to act now and follow the exact steps that I lay out today, I believe you could potentially make multiple six figures, even seven figures by the end of the decade. Now, that does sound bold, I know.
It does.
And normally I would say run far away from anyone who makes these kinds of claims. But not here. Not now. Because this is truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And given its scope, given its speed, I really do think smartly positioned investors could potentially make even seven figures by the end of the decade.
Let me play devil's advocate for just a moment here, because I feel every time I hear that phrase, once in a lifetime, that it gets tossed around a lot. And when it comes to money-making opportunities especially, we both know, we've seen hyped up technologies in the past that never really panned out. They never made any meaningful impact, right?
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but this AI opportunity is for real. I mean, in the short term, you could make 500%, 700%, even upward of 1,000% in a year or two. Now, over the long term, you could make thousands of percent and turn a small stake into millions of dollars. For people watching at home, you're probably calling BS right about now, or saying 1,000% gains in a year or two is impossible, fair play. But Chris, I've dedicated a large part of my career to studying and uncovering stocks that jump 1,000% or more. And two things are required to pull this rare feat off. One, you need a huge technological tailwind that can quickly propel stocks to new highs. And two, you need to find the stocks that are best pioneering this new technology. Now, unless you were living under a rock in 2023, you'd know that this is actually already happening. I mean, stocks that are developing the future of AI, they are starting to receive a tidal wave of new spending, new interest, new investor money. And these AI stocks have greatly rewarded their investors over the past 12 to 18 months. For example, an IT service provider called BigBear.ai is using AI to help businesses and the government make better decisions. And last year, its stock went up an incredible 736% in just over a month, just a month.
Wow.
In other words, you could have turned a $5,000 investment in that stock into nearly $42,000 in only a month. Now, another example is a company called Symbotic that helps warehouses leverage AI and robotics to streamline their business. And over a 7-month period, that stock climbed over 500%.
Yeah, those are some seriously impressive gains. Two opportunities right there that could have made thousands of dollars.
And they are really, really good examples, but they're just two in a sea of examples of AI stocks dominating on Wall Street. I mean, another company called C2.ai, they provide AI software. That stock jumped as much as 350% in just a handful of months last year. And then there's Carvana, the online car retailer. Most people have heard of it. They're the company that allows you to buy a car online and they'll deliver it directly to your driveway. But what most people don't know is that Carvana's business model actually relies heavily on AI. And because of their ability to pioneer AI in the auto retail industry, that stock absolutely soared last year. I mean, Carvana stock finished 2023 up over 1,000%. It was one of the top performing stocks last year. And it just goes to show that if you can get in front of a trend and get into the leaders of that trend, you very much can make 1,000% in 12 months or less. And this is why I'm dead serious, Chris, when I say AI, especially AI today, is truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Right. And again, some very serious gains you're sharing there. I would bet that there are a lot of people who hear this, however, and maybe feel a little disappointed, a little disheartened, because and the reason I say that is I think most people, maybe not some of your readers, obviously, but a lot of people out there like myself, maybe, may have missed out on all those examples that you just shared. So probably fair to say that maybe the opportunity is over. Maybe the biggest gains have already been made. This is all peaked. What do you say to that?
Yeah, Chris, I totally understand why someone would think that that's the case. And the truth is that when it does come to investing in the stock market, you're always going to miss out on great opportunities. Mm-hmm. That's just the way it goes. But I hope people understand that if you have missed out on these gains, do not worry. Because the biggest gains of AI, the biggest gains of the AI boom, they're still ahead of us. Two big reasons why. First is the big picture. So right now, the current value of the global AI market is around $200 billion. But in less than 6 years, AI is projected to have a global market value of $200 trillion. That's trillion with a T. In other words, by the end of this decade, the entire AI market is expected to grow roughly 100,000%, 200 billion to 200 trillion. I mean, you simply can't have that much growth in such a short period of time without making a lot of investors really wealthy. I mean, just like in previous tech booms, we could see highly selective stocks go up thousands or even tens of thousands of percent from here simply because of that massive growth explosion. Mm-hmm. But you have been sitting on the sidelines watching these AI stocks shoot to the moon. Let me be perfectly clear. Even though the biggest gains have not been made already, you do need to get your money positioned into the top AI stocks right now. Which brings me to the second and more important reason you haven't missed out on the biggest gains just yet. So far, we've discussed everything that's happened in the past with ChatGPT and how it ignited an AI arms race and an AI stock explosion on Wall Street. But I didn't ask you to sit down with me to talk about what's already happened, Chris. This isn't a history lesson. It's an investment game plan for the future. So what is coming in the future of AI? Well, potentially another game-changing breakthrough pioneered by the same company, OpenAI, that launched this whole AI boom with the release of ChatGPT in late 2022, and one breakthrough that could profoundly impact the economy, the markets, even our society 100-fold more over the next few years, more so than ChatGPT impacted things over the past year and change. Now, the funniest thing about this breakthrough is the wholly unconventional way that it was almost accidentally leaked to the public. So last November, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman was fired and then rehired in a matter of days. It was boardroom drama. I mean, the whole saga read like a soap opera episode. And while the mainstream media was focused on that drama, the back and forth, the he said, she said, there was actually something really profound, something much more important happening behind the scenes. You see, what unfolded last fall at OpenAI, Chris, didn't just make for a juicy story and extra clicks on the Wall Street Journal. It actually set the stage for a massive rally in very specific AI stocks that could mint a new wave of AI millionaires.
Okay, so I actually do remember that dominated the news cycle for a brief period late last fall. And wasn't it because the board of OpenAI, for some reason, he didn't like the direction that he was taking the company in or something like that? And once again, I'll shut up and let you walk us through how that worked out, because there's probably a lot of people who don't even know who Sam Altman is. Why don't you tell us?
Yeah, of course. So Sam Altman is the visionary CEO and co-founder of OpenAI. And during his time at OpenAI, he led the company from obscurity to AI pioneer in just a few short years. I mean, Sam is really one of those once-in-a-generation talents. You know, he started coding at 8 years old, and at the age of 19, he dropped out of Stanford University and formed his first tech startup. But his big breakthrough came when he started OpenAI in 2015 with fellow tech visionary and billionaire richest man on the planet, Elon Musk.
Right.
Now, it was his time at OpenAI that really catapulted Altman into the spotlight. Billions of dollars started pouring into the company because everyone wanted a piece of what his team was creating. Now, most notably, Microsoft, which is the world's most valuable company, invested over $10 billion into OpenAI. And with all the attention, money, and success surrounding Altman and his company, many in the industry started drawing parallels between Altman and the iconic tech visionary Steve Jobs. He's this generation's Steve Jobs, if you will. Others were comparing him to other tech leaders like Jeff Bezos, Amazon founder, and even Elon Musk himself. So clearly, Altman is a highly regarded individual by his peers and other experts throughout the tech world.
Yeah, safe to say it's not every day that somebody gets compared to Steve Jobs, who is arguably, history's most important figure in technology, or at least one of them.
Yeah, it's not a comparison that gets made lightly, Chris.
Right.
And Altman deserves it, because he built a company from nothing to $90 billion in value, and he did change our world forever. Now, I really could go on and on about all of Altman's achievements and his accolades and his history, but here's the main takeaway. This man is responsible for creating one of the most important companies, not just in AI, not just in tech, but in the history of our world. And just like the comparisons of Altman to Steve Jobs, many are calling OpenAI the next Apple. Now, as a reminder, Apple, it's one of the wealthiest and most powerful companies in the world. So yes, Altman should be flattered to be compared to Steve Jobs, while OpenAI should be flattered to be compared to Apple, which is why, given all this success, it was such a surprise, a huge shock, that late last fall, seemingly out of nowhere, Altman was fired with zero notice. Could you imagine the board of Amazon firing Jeff Bezos after just a few years of the company being public? After turning OpenAI into one of the most important companies in the world today, Altman was terminated by the board members for supposedly not communicating with them and for not being candid about the projects taking place at OpenAI. To the average person who has been following the rapid development of AI, this story appeared to be yet another tech darling filled with drama. But what happened next caught almost everyone off guard, certainly the board of AI themselves. Now, once it was clear that Altman was indeed fired, the drama started to unfold, and it left many in the tech world sort of scratching their heads, like, what's going on here? Because the former CEO of Google boldly shared his opinion on the board's decision, saying, "You don't fire Steve Jobs." Now, almost immediately, Altman was fielding job offers from companies like Microsoft, which oddly enough is a major investor in OpenAI, but most importantly, an exodus of talent either started leaving or threatening to leave OpenAI. More than 700 of the 770 employees at OpenAI signed a letter stating they would quit and join Microsoft with Sam Altman if the board didn't resign immediately. So, needless to say, the board of OpenAI had quite a problem on their hands. One of the most innovative companies of the past few decades was suddenly, because of firing Altman, ripping apart at the seams.
Yeah, drama to say the least. So what is the real reason that Sam Altman was fired? Is it really because he wasn't being candid and open with the board? Because it does seem a little odd that a company that's become synonymous with AI and was easily, at least at that time, the most revered tech firm of the year would want to shake things up for no good reason. Now, obviously, they had a good thing going, so why try and get in the way of all that success? You're shooting yourself in the foot, aren't you?
Well, Chris, that's where the story gets really interesting. And it's actually at the heart of the massive opportunity that you have today. And ultimately, that answer is what I'm calling the AI endgame. Because you see, on the surface, this Sam Altman saga may seem like a story that's played out 1,000 times before in Silicon Valley. A visionary leader at odds with board members, dueling it out for control of the company's future and direction. But according to many sources, including my own inside the industry, Sam Altman didn't get fired because of boardroom drama. He got fired because of a breakthrough that his team made in AI last year, a breakthrough that makes ChatGPT look like a rotary phone. You see, leading up to the days before Altman got fired, some staff researchers wrote a letter to the board members revealing a recent AI breakthrough. Now, the letter warned about a powerful artificial intelligence discovery they said could, quote, threaten humanity. And there was a small group of employees who were concerned about further developing and commercializing this breakthrough before understanding how it would impact society. This is what scared the board into accusing Altman of not being candid, and it's ultimately what ended up getting him fired. Now here's the wild part. Only 4 days after being fired, Sam Altman would regain his title of CEO to continue developing this very breakthrough with his team. And 3 of the board members that pushed Altman out got pushed out themselves.
No longer on the board. So if everybody was so worried about this breakthrough, Luke, and they thought that Altman was being secretive, why did they bring him back?
Well, like any tech breakthrough, it all comes down to a single word, Chris: money. Remember, Microsoft immediately offered jobs to Altman and the other top-level OpenAI developers who left to work on a new advanced AI research team for themselves.
Right.
So his work was going to continue no matter what. And OpenAI realized it might as well be them to move forward with this breakthrough and reap the financial rewards of it.
Right. So it's a fascinating story about everything that happened, and I guess a little concerning as well at the same time. What exactly was this breakthrough? Was this just a better version of ChatGPT, or was it something else completely different?
Well, we don't know the answer exactly. But based on leaked internal documents, the breakthrough that several OpenAI employees were concerned about is a project called Q-Star. Now, this Q-Star project has supposedly created a new AI algorithm that is infinitely more powerful than anything we've ever seen. And it pushes the frontier of discovery and what will soon be possible with AI forward. What happened is this new AI algorithm reportedly solved grade school level math with ease. Now, I know you might hear that and chuckle.
But only because it was very tough for me to do grade school level math. Go ahead, sorry.
But this ability to solve grade level math is actually a huge milestone for AI. Math is considered the benchmark for reasoning. Now imagine a program that can reason mathematically. Such a program could theoretically learn to perform tasks beyond its initial programming. That's what AI is about, doing things beyond what it's coded to do. And in this realm, it means tasks like coding and accelerated self-learning and drug discovery. Programs such as ChatGPT, they excel in pattern recognition and extracting pertinent information from databases, but they lack the ability to independently think and draw novel conclusions. They regurgitate.
Okay.
What Q-Star has reportedly done is break through into a new category of AI called artificial general intelligence, or AGI for short.
Okay, so let me stop you right there. You're saying that OpenAI has successfully created the next evolution of AI. It's a program that can comprehend and learn on its own. Am I connecting the dots there?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, as well as many others in the industry. Now, there are many employees at OpenAI and experts throughout the industry that believe the company has achieved the first step toward its quest in building the first artificial general intelligence engine. And it's really the first step toward a super intelligent AI program that can learn, retain information, and improve itself. I mean, Chris, you gotta understand, AGI is the holy grail of AI research. It's the Super Bowl, the NBA championship, the Stanley Cup. And leading up to the drama that unfolded last year, OpenAI quietly changed its core values to focus exclusively on AGI. So all signs indicate that OpenAI has either cracked this AGI code or they're getting darn close. Now here's why it's a big deal. Because most experts, even the most optimistic techno experts, thought we were years, if not decades, away from reaching AGI. Now, Geoffrey Hinton, who has been called the godfather of AI, recently updated his projection from 20 to 50 years away to now less than 20. Now, Google's AI chief predicted there was a 50% chance of achieving AGI in 5 years, and even OpenAI co-founder Elon Musk thought it would take another 3 years to develop. So the entire industry was all over the place with their prediction, but one thing was clear: AGI was supposed to be years and years away. But with OpenAI's most recent breakthrough, AGI could be coming much sooner than that. I mean, some even speculate it could already be here. Now, if this is true, Chris, this advancement, I mean, it could herald in a new era for humanity, a new era where life-threatening diseases, famine, and energy crises are a thing of the past. Because though AGI can often seem like it was ripped from the pages of a science fiction novel, it also represents the possibility of humanity reaching unprecedented heights. You know, AGI has the potential to take complex problems across a vast array of domains and deliver simple solutions. By revolutionizing healthcare, enhancing infrastructure, AGI can transform our world. Exponential progress and innovation are about to hit light speed, and wealth creation is about to hit light speed with it. In short, we're about to witness the most important tech development in the past 100 years, maybe even ever.
You've given us a lot to think about here, and there's clearly some good news that can surround what's going on. But if it's really happening, what is all this going to mean for the economy and for the stock market, Luke? Let me get you to comment on that.
Okay, so AI is about to hit warp speed. And over the past 12 to 18 months, we've seen AI make a huge impact on our world. We've seen numerous studies and examples come out recently that prove how current AI programs are making businesses as well as individuals far more productive. I mean, last year, for example, a joint study from Stanford and MIT discovered that AI boosted worker productivity by 14% at one tech company. And one of the more eye-opening tests was conducted by the Boston Consulting Group, BCG. Now, this leading global consultancy, one of the biggest in the world, conducted a compelling experiment to explore how ChatGPT could enhance their productivity. So they divided their organization into two groups. One that would integrate AI to assist with daily tasks, while the other would go at it alone. And what they discovered was shocking and true proof of the value of AI. Because the group that used AI, they completed over 12% more tasks and finished those tasks over 25% faster than the control group. Not just that, but the group using AI also produced results that were 40% better, 40% higher quality. So faster, more, and better quality? I mean, what company on earth wouldn't use a technology that boosts everything like that? And that's why in a recent study conducted by the highly respected McKinsey Global Institute, researchers determined that AI could increase corporate profits by up to $4.4 trillion a year. Trillion. $4.4 trillion, Chris, that's nearly 20% of the United States annual GDP. And because OpenAI is set to unleash its next-gen AI programs into the market, we expect a significant and further boost in productivity and profitability. I mean, Chris, we're on the cusp of an economic renaissance, the likes of which has not been seen since the Industrial Revolution. Employees will achieve more with less effort. Companies will make more profit with less effort. And all of this will generate a flurry of new economic activity and unleash a $200 trillion tsunami of wealth in the coming years.
Right. And it's safe to say that all of this productivity and increased profits, obviously, they're going to lead to a boom in the stock market.
Yeah, you nailed it.
That's what we're leading up to, right?
Yeah. I mean, again, just look at what OpenAI did last time. I mean, they released ChatGPT, it ignited this AI arms race. And in turn, that fueled a massive stock market rally last year. I mean, the S&P 500 finished up 26%, while the tech-heavy NASDAQ finished the year up 44%. Now, OpenAI may have just dumped rocket fuel on this rally, which could now last for years, not months, years, as every tech company under the sound tries to catch on. You know, as every business in virtually every industry lines up to put true AGI to work in their organization. And you can't count on Wall Street for much, but you better believe that once profit margins do start increasing with each passing quarter across every sector of the economy, we will undoubtedly witness a massive buying frenzy in the markets.
Yeah. Well, this, again, I mentioned a minute ago, this all sounds like great news, Luke. Why are you calling this the AI endgame? What's the reasoning there?
That's a great question. So artificial general intelligence, it's the first technology ever created that can improve itself without human intervention. So it's completely possible that all innovation and technological breakthroughs moving forward won't be discovered by people, but will instead be discovered by AGI. I mean, this was always the end game of AI when it was conceived decades ago. AI has been called our final invention for years, and we're on the verge of what could be the last major AI breakthrough. I mean, from here, Chris, AI will simply get smarter and smarter and faster and faster. But history will look back at this moment as the last great investment opportunity.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my brain wrapped around this concept. So this is, I guess this is what you meant when you told me this was going to be the last great investing opportunity for anybody over the age of 50.
Yeah, that's right. And all my research points to us being in the very early stages of a massive, massive multi-year bull market powered almost exclusively by AI. I mean, we're about to see markets continue to reach new high after new high, year after year, till the end of the decade. And if you look back in history, this type of tech-fueled bull market, it appears maybe once or twice every few decades. I mean, the last time a single technology single-handedly carried the markets for years, of course, that was the internet boom of the 1990s.
Right.
And what's incredible is the AI bull market is literally tracing the exact steps the internet bull market followed in the 1990s. Now, here's why you should care. If you're older in age and only have a decade or two left to maximize your retirement account before sailing into the sunset, I just showed how this AI bull market is in lockstep with the internet bull market. But look what happened after the internet boom. I mean, the NASDAQ peaked in early 2000 before entering the dot-com crash. Notice particularly how long it took for the NASDAQ to again hit its dot-com boom high. It took 15 years, Chris. 15 years. That's how long it would have taken just to get back to even if you suffered through the tech crash of 2000. Now, even though I believe in this AI bull market with every fiber in my body, eventually the bull market will end. Eventually there will be a crash. No bull market lasts forever. And it could take decades to recover once that crash happens. Now, all this means is this moment in time we have today could be the last raging bull market you could ever experience if you're 50 or older. This is it. I mean, you'll likely never have an opportunity this good ever again. Now, don't get me wrong. There's always a way to make money in the markets, no matter what is going on or what's happening. But once this AI bull market is over, you could be faced with decades of flat markets during a time of your life where you are literally living off your savings and investments. I mean, folks, the time to act is now if you actually want to ride this new AI profit wave.
Yeah. You make a very compelling argument. You're stating your case here very, very well, Luke. But let me ask you pointedly here, what is the best way to profit from this opportunity that we've got before us here? Because in a certain sense, I think almost any AI-related stock will do the job, right? Or are you saying that there's a specific aspect or point of view of this AI boom that investors should be looking at? And maybe more specifically, what are the best stocks to own for this AI endgame, and which stocks are going to benefit the most from this breakthrough that's going on now at OpenAI.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big question, right? What are the best AI stocks to buy for this opportunity? Should you buy a chip developer like NVIDIA?
Right.
Or should you buy an AI software company like C3.ai? Or maybe a hardware play like Tesla? Well, my answer is why not have a little bit of exposure to all of it? But again, the question does remain. Which stocks are the best positioned to soar in this new exciting chapter in AI? Well, this is my answer. So I think the playbook here is pretty straightforward, but maybe not so obvious.
Is it?
So if you want the chance at making multiple 6 or potentially 7 figures by the end of this decade, you want to invest directly in Sam Altman and OpenAI's ecosystem. Because the most lucrative approach will be to invest as close to the epicenter of this revolution as possible. And OpenAI and Sam Altman, they're the epicenter. They are the epicenter of this next AI profit wave. I mean, Q star is starting to sound a lot like the end game of AI. What they're building could be the primary driver of the economy and markets for years to come. I mean, OpenAI is taking over every aspect of the AI universe, and we want to hitch our money on the best horse in this race. That horse is OpenAI, and it's not even close. Now, it's important to realize that OpenAI was operating as a for-profit organization under the control of a nonprofit parent organization. In other words, the nonprofit parent organization, they were actually holding OpenAI back, but with the recent breakthrough in Sam Altman's ouster and then rehiring, the shackles appear to have been broken. And now I predict Sam Altman and his team are about to make a huge push to further monetize and commercialize their breakthrough. Remember, Sam Altman is widely considered to be the next Steve Jobs. 10 years from now, his name will be synonymous for all the AI innovation that's about to occur and all the wealth that's about to be created. Sounds like a guy that you want to invest alongside, doesn't it?
Oh, no doubt. I think anybody watching, including myself, would love an opportunity to go back in time and buy Apple, before they release the iPhone. There is one problem, though. You mentioned earlier, and you just kind of touched on it again, OpenAI is not publicly traded, right? So how exactly are we supposed to get close to this profit epicenter at OpenAI if we can't buy the stock outright in a brokerage account?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a question I've actually been asked a lot of times over the past year or so. Apple's success is well known, and yes, they've been publicly traded for decades, but let's use the iPhone to illustrate how you can use an innovation's ecosystem and not just the innovation itself,
right,
to make a lot of money. So the iPhone was released on June 29th, 2007. And if you bought Apple stock then and held on through to today, you'd be up around 3,819%. Not bad at all.
Yeah.
But this is over the span of nearly 2 decades. What's lesser known is the effect the iPhone had across multiple industries. You see, once the iPhone launched, we saw 2 massive opportunities emerge. The first wave was what many would consider the picks and shovels wave. This is where manufacturers and suppliers produce the components that go into making the iPhone. And the second wave is software. Now, these are the different apps and features that companies created on top of the iPhone that helped make that smartphone become ubiquitous.
Right. So it all, like you said a minute ago, it all seems pretty straightforward. Can you walk us through some examples of how that actually played out practically?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, the first wave we saw was the companies who made the components that made the actual iPhone.
Right.
From the companies that make the glass phone screens to the companies that make the powerful microchips that act as the actual engine of the phone. All the companies that actually made the iPhone physically possible, they benefited greatly alongside Apple. In fact, many of them were better investments than Apple over that same time frame. For example, a company called Skyworks Solutions, they benefited greatly since the release of the iPhone because they make the semiconductors that provide the wireless infrastructure for the smartphone. Without them, there would be no smartphone and by extension, no iPhone. And since the launch of the iPhone, that stock has soared as much as 4,943%. Every $10,000 invested turned into a profit of nearly $500,000. But again, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's another company called Taiwan Semiconductor. Well, they make chips for the iPhones, as well as other Apple products like the iPads, Apple Watches, Mac computers. And since the release of the iPhone, that stock's up as much as 2,086%. Another example, the company called Broadcom. Now, they produce the chips and other components the iPhone uses for wireless charging, among other things. They've been in Apple's ecosystem and close to that epicenter of its profits for years now. In fact, Apple is signing multi-billion-dollar deals with Broadcom, and because Broadcom was perfectly positioned to ride this profit wave ignited by the iPhone, its stock is up an incredible 6,641%. I mean, that turns every $10,000 invested into a profit of $664,000. So, to recap, investing directly in Apple, that would have been a great investment. Made you a little over 3,800%. But had you invested in Broadcom, one of the suppliers of the iPhone, you could have made over 6,600%. Or you could have made over 4,900% from investing in Skyworks Solutions, another component supplier. In fact, had you put $10,000 into all three of the supplier stocks that I just mentioned, you'd have nearly $1.4 million in profits, compared to less than $400,000 had you just invested in Apple. Again, this is just the first wave of profits from Apple launching the mobile revolution. Skyworks, Broadcom, Taiwan Semiconductor were just three of many stocks in Apple's supplier ecosystem. But they were among the closest to the epicenter, which means they handed investors the biggest returns.
Right, and it's amazing how one company's innovation can have this huge ripple effect on the entire stock market. You also mentioned there was a second profit wave that occurs involving software. So for the iPhone example, I imagine that's got to involve the App Store, Apple's App Store, and its impact on the smartphone boom, right?
Yeah, so before the iPhone and the proliferation of smartphones in general, mobile software had very little demand.
Right.
I mean, but once phones did become a microcomputer in your pocket, I mean, we saw a boom in software across the board.
Sure.
Demand for apps and any software that allowed you to live your life on the go had skyrocketed. And over 15 years since the first iPhone launched, there's still no signs of that boom slowing down. In fact, as recently as 2022, Apple's App Store ecosystem generated $1.1 trillion in sales for app developers. That's over $1 trillion in sales for a single year. And this is yet another example of the power of investing in the ecosystems of companies that pioneer or lead the charge of new technological revolution.
$1.1 trillion in sales. That is mind-blowing. I actually had no idea the app business was booming quite like that. So what are some software or tech stocks that rode that particular profit wave? Can you rattle off a few?
Well, Chris, I could, but there are too many to count. Because when the iPhone launched the mobile and smartphone revolution back in late 2007, it brought so many stocks into the limelight. I mean, stocks that are household names and some of the best performers in stock market history are that because of the mobile phone revolution.
Sure.
Take Netflix, for example. I mean, today Netflix is one of the biggest companies in the world, and virtually everyone you know watches their content on an app. But if you want to see how the iPhone and the App Store impacted Netflix, all you need to do is look at its stock chart. I mean, if you look at the chart, you'll notice the stock basically remained flat for the first 8 years of being publicly traded, but then you'll notice something happens in late 2010. You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it does look like after years of being flat, the share price starts to take off.
Yeah, and it's not just a coincidence, because on August 26, 2010, guess what happened? The Netflix app became available on the iPhone for the very first time. I mean, prior to this, you had to either be logged in on a desktop computer or you were still receiving DVDs through the mail.
That's right.
But then, for the first time ever, Netflix's content was available to watch from anywhere in the world on a smartphone. That was Netflix's shining moment. Over the next 10 years, Netflix would become the best performing stock of the decade, returning more than 4,000%. A $10,000 investment in Netflix on January 1st, 2010 would have made you $430,000 by the start of 2020. And it all started because of the iPhone and Apple's ecosystem that allowed Netflix to reach the masses anywhere and at any time.
Yeah, it's fascinating, Luke, really fascinating. How about another example, maybe two?
Well, like I said, there are literally countless examples. Netflix is just one. Another really famous one, a company that everybody knows, Amazon, right? Amazon is one of the wealthiest, most powerful companies in the world. I mean, I bet you couldn't find a single person throughout North America, even throughout all of Europe for that matter, who doesn't know about or use Amazon. And once again, if you look at its stock chart, an interesting story emerges. For over a decade, the stock price remained flat, but you'll notice something happened in late 2008. Any guesses, Chris?
Yeah. It feels like a trick question, but I know it's safe to say it had to have something to do with Apple or the iPhone or the App Store.
Yeah, well, it's not a trick question, and you're absolutely right. It has something to do with the iPhone and the App Store. On December 3rd, 2008, Amazon launched its app on Apple's App Store, and from that moment, Amazon was never the same. You'll notice almost immediately that Amazon stock began to climb and climb and climb, and it's been climbing ever since. This was the moment they needed to finally dominate e-commerce, because from that moment, e-commerce would never be the same. Today, you can order almost anything you'd ever need in a matter of seconds with just a few taps on your phone. And here's the crazy part. From the moment Amazon went public to the moment just before it launched its app on Apple's platform, the stock was up around 268%. Fair play. But the gains that came after Amazon launched its app on the App Store, that's where the staggering numbers come into play. You could have made as much as 6,993%. So Chris, we're talking about 268. Versus nearly 7,000% over roughly the same time frame. This is only possible because Amazon, what did they do? They hitched their wagon to the biggest innovation at the time, which was Apple and its iPhone launch.
Yeah, what a difference the app really made. It's like a tale of two completely different companies. Same company, but it feels like two different ones.
And well, there were two chapters to the story. Now, obviously, there were other factors that went into Amazon's success, but it really did all start with getting into Apple's ecosystem and leveraging Apple's breakthrough innovation to reach the masses. Now, again, like I said, I could rattle off dozens of examples of companies that did the same thing. For example, Shopify, major e-commerce solutions provider, hitched a ride on the smartphone revolution as well. Its software allowed anyone to start and run an online business completely from their phone, and the stock climbed over 6,500% in just a 6-year period. Mobile payment processor Square, I'm sure a lot of us have heard of them.
Right.
Their software allows any business to take card payments from their smartphone. That stock is up as much as 3,000%. Again, I could go on, but I think you get the point. Hitch your wagon to the Apple horse and boom, huge gains almost guaranteed.
Yeah, perfect examples of the ecosystem surrounding Apple there. And you haven't even mentioned the impact that Apple's ecosystem had on social media companies yet. I don't think you did.
Yeah, I mean, that's where some big numbers start to come into play. I mean, Facebook handed investors as much as 2,000%. Imagine how successful Facebook or Instagram would be if you had to sit at a desktop to log in every time. I mean, you'd never use it. Imagine if you had to be at your laptop every time you wanted to watch Netflix. Or imagine if you had to log onto your computer every time you wanted to purchase something on Amazon. Without the iPhone, everything would be totally different. The way we interact with all the platforms and services we use every single day would be totally different. And I'd argue that these companies, they'd be way less successful than they are today if it wasn't for the ecosystem that Apple and the iPhone created over 15 years ago.
Right. Well, I tell you, it's very clear to me that obviously you can make a lot of money investing in the companies at the epicenter of a massive technological trend. But I want to pivot now and go back. How does this relate to OpenAI and Sam Altman and the opportunity that we've got before us now?
Yeah, well, it's got everything to do with it. Now, here's why I believe that investing in the OpenAI ecosystem is nearly identical to investing in the Apple ecosystem before the launch of the iPhone in 2007. Okay, so Apple's innovation, it ignited the mobile revolution and helped make countless millionaires and several billionaires. Its ecosystem created some of the best investment opportunities in the history of the stock market. And the closer you were to Apple's epicenter, usually the bigger the returns. Well, today, Chris, OpenAI is pioneering a technological trend that will dwarf mobile devices, dwarf online streaming, and dwarf e-commerce, dwarf even all of them put together. And while most people might think of OpenAI as this standalone company that only gives you exposure to one aspect of the AI boom, chatbots, that's simply not true. But for OpenAI and their potential AGI breakthrough to reach the masses and truly change the world as profoundly as they can, Sam Altman must first conquer two massive hurdles. Now, the first is the constant shortage of chips, and the second is a constant shortage of energy. You see, for the AI boom to continue, it's going to need way more powerful microchips than are available today, and it will need an abundance of energy that can power those AI programs. But this is what makes Altman so special. Where most CEOs would throw their hands up in the air and give up, Altman is actively taking steps to quickly address both issues. And more specifically, Sam Altman made news recently that he's starting to pursue investors to raise an unprecedented amount of money to reshape the entire AI landscape. All told, he wants to raise an estimated $5 to $7 trillion to build out the AI chip making and energy infrastructure necessary to facilitate the global takeover of AI technologies. $7 trillion. Let's put that in perspective, Chris. That's roughly the value of Apple and Microsoft combined. So Altman is trying to build a super group of investors comprised of the world's wealthiest people, governments, and businesses to fast track the AI build out and fundamentally reshape our world. He's trying to build the physical infrastructure necessary to facilitate the global takeover of AI. I mean, even if he manages to raise a fraction of that $7 trillion goal, the news alone will send stocks participating in this build out absolutely soaring. I mean, the last time OpenAI raised money, Microsoft quickly swooped in with a $10 billion investment. That's actually what kicked off the AI craze back in November 2022, and it's what paved the way for AI stocks like the ones we talked about, BigBear.ai, Symbotic, Carvana, to shoot up as much as 736%, 500%, and over 1,000% respectively. Well, now, Chris, it's about to happen all over again, but this time, the impact OpenAI and Altman will have on the entire stock market and the AI boom will dwarf what we've already seen.
Yeah, that's an insane amount of money. And of course, given Sam Altman's prestige in the tech space, I'm inclined to believe, obviously you are inclined to believe that he's going to pull this off, at least on some level. It does feel like there's a lot of different ways to invest in these numerous projects that OpenAI and Altman have their hands on right now. How do we focus in on the most immediate opportunities with the fastest upside? How do we get into this?
Yeah, I mean, I could talk for hours about all the different opportunities created as a result of what they're doing. I've been studying this opportunity for over a year now, and I've been in constant communication with my contacts throughout the industry.
Right.
In fact, I actually played college basketball with one of the employees at OpenAI. We even went on a trip to play ball in Spain together. And while nothing is guaranteed, when you look at how the drama played out, how quickly the board fired Sam Altman, only to more quickly rehire him 4 days later due to this powerful AI breakthrough. And when you consider that the company's aggressively trying to raise the most money ever raised in the history of capitalism, I mean, the writing's on the wall. But ultimately, Chris, I think OpenAI will first expand its ecosystem and reach into 3 lucrative sectors of the economy.
All right, now we're getting to it. Let's quickly cover those 3 opportunities. And if you don't mind, let's do one at a time, because I know that's really the crux of our conversation today. It's at the heart of this AI endgame that you're warning people about?
Well, the first one is actually already playing out, and it plays directly to OpenAI's strength. So when OpenAI quietly changed their core values, they included prioritizing scalability for their AI program. Because the more scalable a software or program is, the more profitable it is, which is why OpenAI opened their first app store in early January. Now, this app store will allow developers to build on top of OpenAI's proprietary software to potentially create any AI that they want to create. I mean, the potential here is enormous, Chris. Remember, in 2022, Apple's store for mobile apps and software was responsible for $1.1 trillion in new sales. The total value of the mobile app economy in 2021 was estimated to be valued around $6.3 trillion. In other words, Apple's ecosystem was responsible for a huge percentage of all the activity in the global app economy. Now, if OpenAI's new Q-Star breakthrough forms the foundation that all other AI apps will be built on, which I predict is the case, then OpenAI could be responsible for even more economic activity. Remember, AI has a potential to reach a global value of $200 trillion. Even with the most conservative numbers, OpenAI's App Store could be responsible for activity worth multiple trillions of dollars in the future. I mean, their new App Store could provide the foundation that single-handedly launches the next Amazon, the next Netflix, or the next Facebook. And all this will be built on a program that OpenAI will charge for, that they'll make money off of. Again, this is just one of the three opportunities that OpenAI represents today.
So the ChatGPT store alone makes OpenAI's ecosystem sound incredibly lucrative moving forward from here. Is there another opportunity that they're going after as well?
Well, I already touched on this opportunity, but it's too big to ignore. I already told you that powerful microchips are needed to sustain the AI revolution, and currently, only one company gets the lion's share of all this demand, and that is NVIDIA.
Right.
But many companies are starting to pursue their own chip manufacturing to be less dependent on a single company for such an important component to their operations. Google, for example, recently showcased their custom-built AI chips. Amazon also just unveiled that they're making new AI chips too. I mean, it seems that all the big players are now starting to produce their very own AI chips, but the question is, which company has the best chance of dethroning NVIDIA as the leader? Well, once again, we want to bet on the best horse here. And it appears one of the main reasons OpenAI is trying to raise money is so they can beat NVIDIA at their own game. I mean, leading up to Altman being fired, it was revealed that he was actively working on raising billions of dollars from the world's largest investors for a new AI chip venture. Now, he calls this new venture the Tigris Project, and every major tech company has taken notice. Now, my team and I believe that if Sam Altman succeeds with this new AI chip project, and I think he will, OpenAI could one day rival NVIDIA in a space that the latter has been dominating forever. And when you now fold in his recent announcement of raising up to $7 trillion for new chip manufacturing, I mean, it's so easy to see how massive this opportunity is for investors. I mean, I predict Altman's push into microchips could take an enormous amount of business away from NVIDIA, the company that's been the darling of this AI boom, and make early investors millions of dollars. And I've actually found several stocks that could be major benefactors if this microchip build-out occurs, but more on that in just a minute.
Right. Yeah, your analysis is amazing here, Luke, and it really feels like Altman and OpenAI are trying to get maybe a stranglehold on the entire AI industry and ecosystem. And of course, with the backing of wealthy investors that he's getting right now, companies like Microsoft, it does feel very achievable with Altman at the helm, right? So $7 trillion, clearly, that's no joke. It's a lot of money. Let me pivot again, this time to the third opportunity that you mentioned that you're keeping an eye on. What's that all about?
Yeah, so the third opportunity brings us back to comparisons with Apple. Now, something you've got to realize is one of the biggest opportunities in AI outside of software is creating the first generation of AI devices, such as phones and home devices. Because the physical devices that will allow us to interact with AI in every aspect of our lives, that's a gold mine waiting to be tapped. I mean, this is a huge component of the AI arms race. And once again, Sam Altman, our good friend Sam, he's been making headlines for his ambitions to have open AI at the heart of this opportunity. Recently, Altman actually joined forces with legendary designer Johnny Ive. Now, anybody in the design community knows that name. He is the man who designed the iPhone, designed the iPad, and designed the iMac. Altman and Ive, they've also enlisted the help of Apple design executive Tang Tan, who, before helping Altman and Ive, was the head of iPhone design at Apple. So together, I mean, these three industry leaders, they have plans to form a company that's going to bring powerful AI to the masses. In short, they have plans to build the iPhone for artificial intelligence. And it will all be built on OpenAI's proprietary AI programs. I mean, there's even talks that investment firm SoftBank, one of the largest tech investors in the world, will invest billions of dollars in this new venture. And this is yet another reason why I love this opportunity. Because Sam Altman and OpenAI's ecosystem gives us exposure to the big three of tech investing: software, microchips, and devices. It's like investing in Apple before they released the iPhone and started the App Store. If they succeed at just one of these ventures, the amount of wealth created will be staggering. But if they succeed at all three, and I think they will, OpenAI could become one of the wealthiest and most powerful companies the world has ever seen. And the companies and investors closest to the epicenter of Sam Altman and OpenAI's innovations, they're going to reap the biggest rewards.
Yeah, you've got me so excited because this is all starting to gel in my brain right now and make a lot of sense. The pieces are coming together for me. I was not aware that OpenAI was making all of these moves until you brought it up just now. The big question that I've got on my mind, I know you do too, how do we act on this information? I mean, how can we invest directly in the ecosystem that Altman is putting together here with 100% confidence that we're near that epicenter of opportunity? How is it that we can invest directly in this proposed $7 trillion AI build out?
Yeah, that's the trillion dollar question. Yeah. You know, as I've mentioned, I've been closely tracking Altman and OpenAI's every move for over a year now. I really have long believed that they're the epicenter here. Because of that, I've tapped my numerous resources throughout the industry, including high-ranking employees at AI companies, and I'm proud to say that after months of boots on the ground research and tapping my large network of tech insiders at the heart of this opportunity, that I've identified 5 stocks that look to be the closest to the epicenter of the Altman OpenAI profit wave. I put all my findings, including the names and buy below prices of these 5 stocks, in a new report called the AGI Profit Wave. 5 stocks for 1,000% gains. Now, inside this report, you'll get a deep dive into all the different opportunities that OpenAI is pursuing and how they could hand you multiple 6 figures, maybe even 7 figures before the decade is over. Because folks, these stocks represent unique ways to invest in OpenAI's current and future ecosystem, from infrastructure to devices. The stocks inside this report will give you exposure to all the different opportunities OpenAI is pursuing inside their $7 trillion AI build-out.
Okay, let me just summarize here. You're saying these 5 stocks are at the epicenter of this opportunity, the stocks that will benefit the most from this AI endgame, as you're calling it?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
All right.
These 5 stocks could be like buying Broadcom before Apple launched the iPhone, and the stock climbed 6,641%, turning every $10,000 invested into nearly $700,000. Or it could be like buying Netflix just before that company launched its mobile app and soared over 4,000%. I mean, Chris, big picture here, I've recommended over 14 1,000% winners in my young career.
Right.
But I truly believe that due to the enormity of this very opportunity and the in-depth research that my team and I have conducted, the 5 stocks in this brand new report could be the top 5 recommendations of my career, and by a wide margin. But this opportunity is moving lightning fast. It's really big, but it's really quick too.
Could be the top 5 of your career. That's saying a lot. So this is very exciting. And I admit, this does feel, I have the sense that this is an inflection point that we're at in AI and the markets. And the report that you just mentioned does sound like the easiest way to potentially make a lot of money from this opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, a small investment in any of the stocks in this report could make you a lot of money in the coming years. But what is coming is so big and so potentially lucrative that I want to give you exposure to a specific opportunity that can hand you the biggest gain as the story plays out. OpenAI's AGI breakthrough. It's basically a powerful software program at the end of the day. And as soon as OpenAI allows people to access this powerful new program, well, the sky's the limit. I mean, the AI software stocks most closely aligned with OpenAI, they're going to take over the world. We've already seen numerous AI software stocks boom since the release of OpenAI's ChatGPT. Again, we talked about BigBear.ai. That stock jumped 736% in just over a month last year. Well, as you already know, this is about to happen all over again.
Right.
So I went to work and I've uncovered the top 5 AI software stocks that could benefit the most from OpenAI's recent breakthrough. Now you'll get all the details about these 5 software stocks in my new report, 5 software stocks for the AI endgame. Now, if we're keeping track here, Chris, that's 2 different reports with 10 different stock recommendations that could help you make the most of this unprecedented opportunity. With access to these 2 reports, you'll have all the ammunition you need to potentially make a lot of money from this opportunity, because I believe the 10 stocks in these reports will be the big winners as Altman's $7 trillion AI build gets underway.
Yeah, I love it, Luke. These reports sound absolutely amazing. So my next obvious question here, how do we get these reports emailed to us into our inboxes immediately?
Yeah, so the only way that you can get them is by joining my Innovation Investor service. And the name, Chris, really says it all. Innovation Investor is about placing strategic investments in little-known innovative companies that are shaping our future, companies that will become the leaders of their industry in just a few short years. We're looking for the next trillion-dollar company, the next Amazon, the next Tesla, the next Apple. Now, this service will help get you into those future leaders of tech and business while they remain relatively unknown and cheap before they're household names and plastered all over the news and internet. And all it takes is being right just once to experience a massive upgrade to your wealth and quality of life. For example, an early investment in, say, Amazon would have turned every $5,000 into $8.5 million. A $5,000 early investment in Microsoft would have made you over $19.4 million. I mean, I studied virtually every type of asset and opportunity you can invest in, everything from cryptos to real estate to private investments and options and tradings. And it is painfully obvious that nothing offers the most financial upside with the least amount of downside risk as strategic, well-placed investments in small, innovative tech stocks. It's the only strategy I know of that can help you realistically make 1,000% or more in a relatively short time frame. And best of all, it's straightforward.
Yeah, it's interesting. What you said is a very good point. It only takes one, just one, to do this. So final question I've got. What's the cost to become a new member? What'd you call it? Innovation investor.
Yeah, well, based on the opportunities that my readers are getting every year, I could easily charge well over $1,000 a year for this service. And a modest investment in just a few of the recommendations I've closed out in Innovation Investor recently could have paid for this service many times over. I mean, recommendations like a 124% win from IonQ, 190% for win from ON Semiconductors, and most recently, my Innovation Investor members actually had the chance to bank over 1,000% in profits from NVIDIA. Again, this is just a small sample of the opportunities that my readers are getting every month. In fact, last year, my Innovation Investor service had a 100% win rate across all sold recommendations. Everything we sold was a winner. The average gains of those recommendations was 115%. In other words, last year, you could have locked in an average gain of 115% every time we sold a recommendation. Chris, that's nearly 12 times better than the average annual gain of the S&P 500. But because I believe this is truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and because this really could be the last tech bull market you'll ever get to participate in again, I really do want to give new members an incredible deal. So here's what I'm willing to do. Normally, we charge $299 for a year of access to my Innovation Investor service. But if you join my Innovation Investor service right now, I'll give you a massive discount. You will pay nowhere near that price.
Well, that's very generous of you, Luke. Unfortunately, we're almost running out of time here. I know we've covered a lot. Can we take a minute and have you recap quickly everything our viewers are going to get if they become a new member to Innovation Investor today?
Yeah, sure thing. So the first thing you'll get as a new member is an email inviting you to join the Innovation Investor private website. Now, once logged in, you'll immediately get access to all the training materials my team and I have created for you, and access to the archive containing special reports that detail other great opportunities in artificial intelligence. Reports like the Insider's Guide to the hottest pre-IPO deals in AI, or my brand new report called 7 AI Hyperscale Stocks to Buy Right Now. You'll even get immediate access to your complete investor's guide to profiting in the emerging age of AI. And as an added bonus, we'll include our VC Insider's Millionaire Playbook. But the first thing you'll want to read is my 2 brand new reports, the AGI Profit Wave, 5 stocks for 1,000% gains, and 5 software stocks for the AI endgame. Because folks, if you want to put your wealth building efforts into hyperdrive and start compounding your money at truly breakneck speeds, you need to buy those 10 stocks ASAP. Now, bar none, Innovation Investor is the single best way to get all of my best AI research all in one place. If you want to position yourself for maximum profits from the next AI profit wave and potentially ride it alongside a man who has actually been described as this generation's Steve Jobs, or if you want a realistic shot at making over 1,000% several different times over just the next few years, and have the chance to turn a small lump sum into a 6-figure or even 7-figure win, well, folks, then joining Innovation Investor is the smartest decision you can make right now. But a word of caution, please understand that timing is critical here, which is why I put together the best offer you'll see for this research. Now, I can't wait to start this journey with you. Just remember that all investments carry risk, and you should never, 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 never risk more than what you're willing to lose.
Well said, Luke. And I have to add, it is nice having someone like you bring so much value to the table, to this discussion, to this deal and opportunity. It's a great offer. And to get all the best AI research that you publish, there really couldn't be a better time to get your hands on this research. Luke, thank you so much for telling us about this AI endgame opportunity, for sitting down with us today. You've really fit the pieces together for us. I appreciate it.
Well, it's been my pleasure, Chris. Thank you for agreeing to help me get this message out. Like I said, this is the big one, and this is the one people need to act on.
Right. Opportunity of a lifetime. And there you have it, folks. If you would like to secure your spot as a new member to Luke Lango's Innovation Investor at a steep discount, just click the button you see on your screen and go to the secure sign-up page. And once you're there, you'll be able to read more about this unique opportunity and all about the details of this very discounted offer to join Innovation Investor. With that said, I'm Chris Hurt. Thank you very much for joining us today.